I have seen horrors that no man should ever have to witness once in their life. I have seen my fair share of bad media before in my life, but it is very rare for me to come across a piece of media so bad that it actually makes me question the value of art. This may very well be the serious finale of the search for the worst cartoon, because honest to God, I think we found it. I think we've officially found it. For a long time, Pixel Pinky stood as the worst cartoon ever covered on this series, and now it's been completely dethroned just like that. This is a cartoon that will be extremely hard for me to review for a multitude of reasons. Number one, there is a lot of disgusting material in this show. This is a show that is very excessive with its gross out humor. And as a result of that, I'm not sure how much of this show I could be able to show off in this video. Just saying the name of the show itself would be enough to potentially have this video be demonetized or, God forbid, age restricted. But you know what? That is a risk that I am willing to take. And number two, I don't think I have ever seen a cartoon this blatant, this explicit when it comes to why it's bad. I have looked at cartoons before in the past that are very self-explanatory as to why they're bad, but I think this thing right here is a whole new level of self-explanatory. This thing is so blatant and upfront with how bad it is that it almost feels redundant for me to make a video on this show. This entire video is just gonna be me stating the obvious, and I really don't care, to be honest. I'm still gonna make it. I have never seen a cartoon try this hard to turn people away from it. I have never seen a cartoon go this far to just being bad. I am almost convinced that this show was made bad on purpose, because I refuse to believe that this thing was made with serious intentions. I refuse to believe that this thing was made in the hopes that people would watch it and they would find it good and funny. I have looked at cartoons on this series before, like The Red Ape Family or The New Norm, where I have to question, are these satire? Is The New Norm a joke cartoon, or was it made with serious intentions? What makes this show different from The Red Ape Family and The New Norm is this is a considerably more professional show. The Red Ape Family and The New Norm are both low-budget, low-effort, amateur internet cartoons made by no more than 5 people. This thing right here, I'm sure, actually has a crew behind it. It is like 2% more professionally made. 1%, 0.5% more professionally made than The Red Ape Family or The New Norm. And I'd say that is one of many things that makes this show worse than The Red Ape Family or The New Norm. And it also makes it even more baffling in the event that, yeah, this was made bad on purpose. Because again, I refuse to believe this was made with serious intentions. I refuse to believe that whoever made this show made it in the hopes that people would find it good. That is just impossible. So here's a little bit of backstory as to how I discovered this thing. I don't remember when this happened, but at one point I was scrolling through the IMDb page for one of the cartoons that I've previously covered on this series. I don't remember which show it was. I think maybe it was the Nut Shack. I'm not sure. For the sake of making things simple, I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's the Nut Shack. Oh, Jesus Christ, I just realized what I said. So I was scrolling through the Nut Shack's IMDb page, and I went through the more like this section of the page, and I saw a bunch of other cartoons that I have covered on this series as well. And then there was one cartoon that stood out. One cartoon that I had yet to cover on this series. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you all to... and I am taking an extremely huge risk saying the name of this show. Biatches. This is the cartoon that we are looking at in today's video, if you can even call it a cartoon. I became very curious as to what this was for one reason. The thumbnail image for the show on IMDb showed two girls sitting on urinals, which I cannot show for obvious reasons. And just like that, I looked at this thing and I thought, oh god, what the is this? I think I might have stumbled upon something amazing. I clicked on the show's IMDb page, and I don't know what the rating was back when I first discovered this show, but as of making this video, this show has a 1.1 out of 10, making it the second lowest rated cartoon covered on this series, with the lowest rated being The Red Ape Family, which was somehow able to achieve the impossible and receive a 1.0 out of 10. And yet, I think The Red Ape Family is Avatar: The Last Airbender when compared to this other show. I knew that at some point, I had to look at this show. I didn't know when, but it was inevitable. I had to look at this thing. And so, very recently, I decided, you know what? I have delayed the inevitable long enough. Let's actually watch this thing. This show came out in 2014. It was very short-lived. It didn't last very long. It only had 6 episodes and that's it. And the only redeeming quality of this show is the fact that every episode is ridiculously short. The longest episode is only 4 minutes and 14 seconds long. That's it. It takes 22 minutes to watch every single episode of this show, and that's it. 22 minutes. That's like the length of a Simpsons episode, the length of a Family Guy episode, the length of a Rick and Morty episode. 22 minutes is nothing. But let me tell you something. These 6 episodes, they make up the longest 22 minutes that you will ever have to endure in your entire life. This show is from Comedy Central, and as far as I'm aware, it never aired on TV. Instead, this was a web-exclusive series for them. I remember when I first stumbled upon this show, I got curious about it a little bit, and I decided, you know what, I should take a little sneak peek at this show. And I went onto Comedy Central's YouTube channel, and lo and behold, I found the show, just like that. And then, when I started early work on this video, I went onto Comedy Central's YouTube page, and I couldn't find the show anywhere. And I became very concerned. Did they delete this thing? I mean, I'm not complaining at all if they did, because trust me, this thing looked absolutely abysmal, and it ended up being absolutely abysmal. But how the hell could I make a video on something this abysmal if it's not available at all? For a brief period of time, I was convinced that this thing was honest to God lost media, and I didn't know how to comprehend that. I ended up going onto the Wayback Machine and looking up old archives of the Comedy Central YouTube channel from 2014, and indeed, the show was there. And then I decided to copy and paste the URL for the video itself outside of the Wayback Machine to see what happened. Maybe they privated this show. I don't know. And as it turns out, no, this show was never lost media to begin with. They moved all 6 episodes of this show onto a separate YouTube channel dedicated to animation for Comedy Central. All of the failed not South Park Comedy Central cartoons, giving it the very generic name of animated. Not Comedy Central animated or anything like that. Nothing to indicate that this is in any way connected to Comedy Central. Just animated. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I think this channel might be a goldmine for cinema, if you know what I mean. Wink wink. And so with all of this knowledge in mind, I downloaded all 6 episodes of the show, and I prepared to watch them. And I'm just gonna say, holy shit. I've never seen anything this bad before in my life. I didn't know things could get this bad. I really didn't know. I didn't think it was possible for us to sink this low. But indeed, we have hit rock bottom. I owe Vivzy Pop an apology. See, now that's how you know things are really f***ing bad, when you got me over here saying shit like that, man. That's when you know we're looking at an all-time stinker right here. Now, I can't show that many images from this show because, trust me, it is very excessive with its gross-out humor. But from the few images I could show in this video, you will notice that this show looks a little bit familiar. This show shares the exact same art style as Legends of Chamberlain Heights, which was previously covered on this series. Not only that, but it also has a very similar tone, a very similar style to it. This came out before Legends of Chamberlain Heights though. This was 2014, while Legends of Chamberlain Heights was 2016. And I've gotta say, even though Legends of Chamberlain Heights was a terrible show, it's also a massive f***ing upgrade compared to this. I'm not sure how much I could be able to compare this show to Legends of Chamberlain Heights, considering the fact that, again, this was a very short-lived cartoon. Only 6 episodes were made, and they're all extremely short. The runtime for one episode of Legends of Chamberlain Heights is exactly the same as the runtime for all 6 episodes of Biatches put together. It's honestly kind of ironic the fact that the shorter cartoon is also the more painful of the two. A 20-minute long episode of Legends of Chamberlain Heights is somehow less painful than a 3-minute episode of Biatches. Isn't it crazy how things just work out like that, huh? So the show follows 2 girls. Don't worry, there are no cups to be found anywhere on this show, but ultimately I don't think that really matters in this case because the show still manages to be disgusting despite that fact. The show follows 2 girls named Dana and Julia as they wreak havoc in their school, particularly messing with their teacher, Mrs. Klitnick, whose name sounds like a f***ing slur, and I feel very wrong. I feel very uncomfortable saying her name, but yes, that is indeed her name. There are other students that attend Mrs. Klitnick's class besides Dana and Julia, but there's almost nothing to really say about them. They're all just boring, uninteresting stereotypes. There's a Hispanic character that speaks Spanish, and like every time he talks, he's saying something vulgar and offensive. And because none of the other characters speak Spanish, they think he's saying like something nice, something sweet, whatever. There's like this hardcore America, yeah, kind of character, like, I don't know, like a redneck hillbilly character, Southern, I'm not sure. And he has this running gag in most of the episodes where he jumps out of the school window and leaves the school riding a motorcycle. I guess this is supposed to be a running gag, and instead it just feels like reusing the exact same joke in every episode. Well, not in every episode, but in most of the episodes. I get that that's what a running gag is essentially, and yet I don't know how to describe it properly. I don't know how much sense this is gonna make, but it feels less like a running gag and more like they're just reusing the same joke again and again. And not once is it ever funny, but at the same time, at least it's not gross or anything like that. I swear to you, words cannot describe how much revolting, gross out humor there is in this show. This show is genuinely repulsive to sit through because there are so many disgusting, gross things in it. When I reviewed Legends of Chamberlain Heights, I brought up how the first episode of that show left a very bad impression on me. I genuinely thought this entire show was gonna be awful and unwatchable because of this first episode. Because this first episode had a lot of gross out humor in it. And although the remainder of the show, the rest of what I watched of the show was still bad, it wasn't as awful as that first episode. There wasn't as much gross out humor. There were still gross out jokes, but not as much as in the first episode. With this show though, it felt like I was watching the first episode of Legends of Chamberlain Heights 6 times. Actually, as I mentioned before, the length of a Legends of Chamberlain Heights episode is the same as the length of all 6 episodes of Biatches put together. So there is quite literally no difference between watching all 6 episodes of this show and watching the first episode of Legends of Chamberlain Heights. As I mentioned, when I first came across this show on IMDb, I saw that the thumbnail image for the show were these two girls, Dana and Julia, sitting on urinals. And yes, indeed, there is an entire episode where they do that, and it is exactly as gross as you would expect it to be. And it was also the first episode that I watched of the show, so you can only imagine my shock when I found out, yes, this show was indeed going to be this bad. This episode also concerns me for a couple of reasons. Number one, this episode has 5 million views, significantly more views than the other 5 episodes of the show, none of which have cracked a million, although there is one episode that's at 900,000 views. Number two, this is the second most viewed video on the Comedy Central animated channel. And number three, if you scroll through the comment section for this video, you will find a concerningly large amount of people that claim to have watched this thing when they were a kid. You will find a lot of people being like, why did I watch this when I was a kid? How was I allowed to watch this when I was a kid? That sort of thing. You know, when people talk about how parents should monitor what their kids watch online, they're talking about stuff like Skibbity Toilet and Brain Rot and whatever, that sort of thing. But I think this is proof that, like, it doesn't even have to be like Elsa Gate or like anything adjacent to Elsa Gate in order for this to be a problem. Because I cannot imagine how traumatizing it must have been to have stumbled upon this as a kid. I can only imagine what would have caused someone, what would have caused any kid to find an episode of this show, let alone the episode where these two girls are sitting on urinals as a kid. I admit that this will come off as a little bit hypocritical considering the fact that I and so many other people grew up watching King of the Hill and Family Guy and American Dad and whatever on Adult Swim. There's probably people watching this that watched South Park when they were a kid, even though they're not supposed to. I and so many other people grew up on YouTube watching The Angry Video Game Nerd and the Nostalgia Critic and whatever. I and so many other people grew up secretly playing GTA without our parents knowing, you know, that sort of thing. And yet I can't help but feel that, like, you know, there's a big difference between a kid watching Family Guy, even though they're not supposed to, versus a kid watching this, even though they're not supposed to. Okay, yeah, maybe both are bad, but, like, I'd say one is significantly worse than the other. I'm genuinely having a hard time trying to review this thing because, again, this show is very excessive with its gross out humor. I don't think I've ever seen a cartoon this blatant, this explicit when it comes to why it is bad. Again, I am genuinely convinced that this show was made bad on purpose. There is no way that this show was made with serious intentions. There is no way that this show was made in the hopes that people would like it, people would find it funny. I just have a very hard time believing that. I hate to say this because I don't want any of you to torture yourselves with this show, but this is the kind of cartoon that has to be seen in order to be believed. There is nothing I can say about this show that'll do it justice. There's nothing I can do at all. You actually have to watch the show yourselves in order to truly comprehend how f***ing awful it is. I am trying my absolute best, but I don't think I am delivering to you how awful this show truly is. I can't show that many images from this show because of how excessive it is with its gross out humor, and I really do not want this video to get demonetized, even though there's a 99% chance that it will get demonetized because of the name of the damn show itself. I look at this show and I get reminded of Ren and Stimpy's Adult Party cartoon, another show that suffered the same problem of just being overly excessive with its gross out humor. And I'm sure for a brief period of time, I considered this to be the worst cartoon I had ever seen, as cliche as it may be. I know that I've ranked Fairview and Pixel Pinky below Ren and Stimpy's Adult Party cartoon, but ignoring those two shows and focusing on Adult Party Cartoon and Biatches, I think both are awful for the same reasons, and yet I think Adult Party Cartoon is a tiny bit better because at least it has better art. At least the art for the show isn't bad. And then meanwhile, the art for Biatches is, well, I mean, just look at it, man. Look at it. Unappealing art style plus excessive gross out humor equals worst cartoon ever made. No doubt about it, man. This is a cartoon for people who hate cartoons. I know this might seem like a harsh thing for me to say, but it truly feels like that to me. I cannot imagine liking animation and also liking this at the same time. I can't imagine liking television and also liking this at the same time, even though this isn't a TV series. This didn't air on TV as far as I'm aware. This was like an internet YouTube thing and that was it. I cannot imagine saying that you like art and then also liking this show as well. I've never seen anything this anti-art before in my life. Well, okay, it's something that humans have actually made. I'm not saying this to be like, AI art is actually good, guys. Y'all are just mean. I'm not saying that at all, but I think the existence of this show is proof that humans can make abhorrent anti-art garbage as well. Humans are capable of creating slop as well. There you have it, folks. Biatches, the worst cartoon ever made. You know, I find it a bit funny, the fact that the best cartoon covered on this series and the worst cartoon covered on this series both have excessive gross out humor. You know, that's something I think about from time to time. I reviewed The Nut Shack back in 2023. I proclaimed it to be the best cartoon covered on this series, and it still stands as the best cartoon covered on this series. And admittedly, yeah, The Nut Shack is funny bad. There is a so bad it's good aspect to The Nut Shack. However, there is also an awful, unwatchable, offensively bad side to The Nut Shack. A side where the show just heavily relies on excessive gross out humor. And for whatever reason, whenever I think of The Nut Shack, I don't think of this side of it at all. I only focus on the funny, bad, ironic side. The side that looks at like, oh, you know, it's so bad it's good, it's the room of cartoons, the theme song is funny, bad, whatever. And I very rarely acknowledge the offensively bad, gross out side of the show. As a matter of fact, I actually acknowledge the offensively bad, gross out side of the show in my review for The Nut Shack, so I'm even more confused myself as to why I don't acknowledge it all that much when I think of the show. Realistically speaking, I shouldn't have this be the highest ranked cartoon on the series, and yet I have it as the highest ranked cartoon. Because number one, funny haha memes from nearly 10 years ago. Yes, 2016 was almost a decade ago. All of these things will turn 10 years old next year. No, I'm not sorry for making you feel old. And number two, there are funny bad moments in The Nut Shack. And I don't know if there are enough funny bad moments to drown out the offensively bad moments. I don't know if there are more funny bad moments than offensively bad moments or vice versa. I don't know, but I think the fact that there are funny bad moments combined with, you know, funny 2016 meme nostalgia, I think elevates The Nut Shack up to being the best cartoon covered on this series. If I had this magical thing called standards, I would be putting The Nut Shack on the same level as Biatches, but I'm not doing that, because I don't know what standards are, thank you very much. And also, Biatches doesn't have anything funny bad. Do not go into this show at all, but especially do not go into it expecting something funny bad, something to laugh at. There is nothing funny about this show. There is no joy to be had watching this show. There is no entertainment to be had, no enjoyment, nothing like that when watching this show. It's just 6 episodes of pain, 22 minutes of pain. And that's all that this show is. I have never felt this offended before watching a cartoon before in my life. I am being dead serious when I say that. I've brought up before how there's a reason why South Park is the only successful cartoon that Comedy Central has ever had, and Biatches only further strengthens that reason. Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see y'all next time. Adios.